Shut up. You ain't Jameson.
And on that note, welcome to Biters, the podcast about Walking
Tainted
Dead.
meat.
Tainted
The podcast
meat.
about tainted meat.
I think that should be our new slogan.
Absolutely.
Yes, I really wish this episode. I know this episode was called Four Walls and a Roof, but man, it really should have been Tainted Meat.
Yeah, I think they were trying to keep us on edge, whether or not they were going to ever actually say that line or not. So they didn't want to give it away in the title.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I thought some amazing performances. His delivery of that line was fantastic. We'll get into it, but man, that was awesome.
Yeah, if they ever make a black Joker, he might be at the running for that.
Was diabolical.
That was
diabolical.
So if you're new to the show, my name is Jeff Marsick. I'm a writer and screenwriter, and with me is Kirk Manley, my artist on Z-Girl and the Four Tigers, a self-published, independently produced comic book, and this is our show. Before we get into this show, we have we want to do a little bit of housekeeping. There's a couple, some things that people had written in on the Facebook page. Jeez, how old am I? And we always want to give people shouts out, so we're gonna do some of that right now. One of them came from
these were for the premieres. This was in response to the premieres. One was from Tom DeRosa, who wanted to welcome us back. Said, "Welcome back, guys. Good episode of the podcast for sure. I love this episode of the show. Been thinking about what's been said about Negan. Didn't that tattoo guy, when they let him out, yell, 'We are saved,' or something like that? Saviors? Huh? Think about it." That guy was nuts, man, that came out of that thing. And there was a lot of, we already talked about this quite a bit, but just to reiterate, I think it was pretty convinced he didn't say we are saved. He was saying we're the same.
Yeah.
And
that's what I thought he said.
Yeah, and I think that that was in reference to the fact that the Terminus people had basically become as bad, if not worse, than the guys that terrorized them and actually turned them into that. So we also had a great note. It's pretty long. I'm going to kind of abbreviate it from Laura Swink, and she was also happy to have us back. We're glad to be back.
Is this 3 listeners now or 4? Are we up to 4?
I think we might be up to 4 and a half. Some of those ones that are across the ocean, though, we got a couple from overseas. They count as 2, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, because the exchange rate.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Let's see. She did Good, Bad, and the Ugly. She thought on the premiere the good was basically the entire episode. She can say unequivocally that this was her favorite episode of the entire series. So she and I are pretty much in agreement on that. She said she was literally cheering by the end. Her favorite highlights were 1, Morgan, 2, this impressive, sophisticated storytelling thanks to SMG. I assume that's Scott Gimple. Number 3, the redemption of Carol. And yes, I do think she needed some level of redemption, she said. But she definitely gave it 110% and showed that she was truly a badass. Totally agree with that, Laura. Bad. She said little continuity things that took me out of the scene for a second. Rick saying there was a compound bow and red-handled katana in the bag. I think that was, again, just a mishearing, because he doesn't say katana. I thought he said axe. And I've been referring to that as we've been talking about, because I had a prediction, which I get to rave about here later.
Yeah,
it's right. Like first prediction that's ever come true. But
I thought he said machete.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. I heard axe, and apparently Laura heard katana. She thought ugly.
Wide range of.
Yeah.
The words don't necessarily sound alike, so there's.
We all got the red, though. We all got the red. Something. He's gonna kill him with something red. Her ugly is a good ugly. The sheer brutality of the lack of humanity of the Terminus people. The brutality of and strong will of the group to survive. She was really shocked that she was watching such a thing on basic cable. She gave an A+ gold star to the actor playing Martin. We talked about that quite a bit. He was phenomenal. Kind of a standout. Let's see. She said, "Did you notice that Carol was in the supply room, the large number of stuffed animals on the table, and indicating that the termites have most likely taken the lives of many children?" Yeah, I thought that was, again, a great example of Scott Gimple and maybe Kirkman, I don't know, but definitely the producer's newfound willingness to talk less and show more. We didn't need to get monologues about how they like to eat children and how horrible they are, and instead we just saw this table with all these tables full of stuff, and one whole table was nothing but kids' stuffed animals, and that just said it all. It was more terrifying that way. And then see, so she said, since Hippie Sam, which I guess is the Sam from the pig trough scene, which was from the carryover guy with the watch and the apple picking girl. I'm guessing he really was a good guy since he was leaning over the trough and not at the Terminus picnic table. Yeah, definitely, especially after this week's episode where Gareth outright states, it wasn't going to be a trap. It was a choice. You were going to either, we were going to let you either join us, or we were going to feed us. That's right. And so yeah, I think she's right. So anyway, she says, "Thanks so much, guys, for your efforts on the podcast. You crack me up, keep me entertained. Until next Sunday." She said, "Oh, and by the way, I think Daryl and Beth make a great team. So tell those irate Beth haters to have a beer and relax." I'm on board there, Laura, with you all the way. So thank you both, Laura and Tom, for those great notes. And we're sorry it took us an episode or two to get to them. Okay.
Well, we got one more. So
that's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot.
So Kath sends us this voice recording. It took a couple times to get to us, and then she gets it to us, and I open it up, and I just start cracking up at how it's funny and sinister all at the same time. So Kath, I don't know if I should be scared of you or what, but here it is.
Hey guys, it's Kathy. I just had a real quick question for you. I'm having a barbecue this weekend. Would you like some thighs or some ribs?
Yeah.
I'm going for the ribs. I don't know about you. I'm going for. I mean, I like thighs too, but if we're going barbecue, I'm going ribs.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to.
That was awesome, Kath. And she that's a great. A lot of podcasts have the call-in number. We haven't set that up yet. So if you want to call in, leave a message instead of posting a message. But what you can always do is just record a message on like your iPhone or your cell phone or whatever, and then email it to us at biterspodcast@gmail.com, and then we'll definitely play it.
Yeah, one of these days we're going to figure out how this phone line hookup thing works. I'm in the middle of a buyout. I have AT&T Uverse. Well, Frontier bought AT&T Uverse, and they bought the internet phone and cable portion, not the cell phone portion. And so the first day of new management was Saturday. Dude, right. Nothing worked right. I was supposed to do another podcast set up with my buddy, with my partner Scott, and I couldn't do it because the internet kept dropping and whatever. And I was like, it's not like you're laying new lines. It's just flip a switch, right? Or you go, hey, this side is now yours. This side. So anyway, we're hopefully in a couple weeks we'll get that sorted out. And
it's funny because last week we were having a lot of problems when we were recording that we kept dropping out. So maybe that had something to do with it. Before we get into the show, well, first of all, I guess we're good to do the number. Did you get numbers yet or not? Probably too early.
Yeah, it's too early still.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on a couple of other things that were happening last week. Hopefully, what did you? I know you saw it, but hopefully our listeners saw it. But that new Avengers trailer. What did you think of that, Jeff?
That was awesome. I mean, it's darker in tone and just you just get done watching it. It's one of those trailers where you get done watching and you're just in stunned silence for a couple seconds, just going, "Whoa."
I love watching trailers, but I don't usually watch them multiple times in a row. And that one I just kept watching and playing with my kids and watching and everything else. I think it's the like you said, it's the darker tone of it. The definite. They're definitely in crisis. You can tell, but it's the voiceover, the Ultron voiceover.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's just and that actor, the guy from the Blacklist, Spader.
Yeah.
It's just his voice is perfect, and the line where it says "I'm free, no chains on me" at the end, that was just perfect.
Yeah.
Pumped for that. This weekend I rewatched World War Z with my daughter, and I loved the book. It was definitely my favorite zombie-based book ever. And the movie doesn't come anywhere near the book, but it's still a good flick as zombie movies go, I think, and I highly recommend it. And there was a funny thing though that I wanted to share with you, Jeff, because you're also a fan of Lost. But when we got done watching it, I was giving her a little background on the fact that the third act of that movie, you've seen it, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
The third act of that movie was, I guess, a total mess before, and before they could release it, they had to rewrite it and reshoot it and everything. And there's definitely a total change in the tone of the movie, and you can tell almost like it's two different movies, but it works. But I got done telling her that because my daughter's a big fan of the Lost series, and I said, well, the Lindelof is the guy that wrote Lost, one of the guys that wrote Lost, and he's the guy that they brought in to do this. And she's like, well, that makes perfect sense because it's the third act starts with a plane crash, and then they're like wandering around trying to find this place. They're like lost, and then I said, "Geez, you're right," because he's a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
but it had there were people staring out the windows. There was kind of this creepy being watched sense. It was just a whole lot of that Lost feel vibe just came right through. Did you also happen to know that Peter Capaldi, who is the new Doctor Who,
Yep.
played a doctor in the WHO, which is the World Health Organization's office building. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty funny. I don't know if that was purposefully done or just a coincidence.
I like him as a doctor. Maybe it's something about it's my affinity for all things Scotland, but I like him.
Yeah, I think he's great. The show has, I don't think it's been as well written this season as it has in the past, but I like him. I don't love the fact that he's so cranky. He's just
they got to lighten up on that.
Yeah, he's really, really cranky, but I still love the show tremendously. Also watched Constantine this weekend. I know when chatting with you before we started that you haven't watched that yet, but I recommend you check it out. I mean, it's ABC, I think, so or NBC. So, it's a little filtered, a little washed down, but it's a little cheesy, but overall I liked it. I'm going to keep watching it, give it a chance. Okay, that's did you have anything else before we get started?
No, I want to dig into the meat, baby.
Dig into the meat. Ribs or thighs? Did you watch Talking Dead?
Yeah.
Did you see that they did the little highlights of the little back behind the scenes thing, and the leg that was on the spit that was Bob's? It was like a prosthetic foot, I guess, but they attached to it an actual piece of pork shoulder or something. They said, so that was it's real meat attached to that foot. Authenticity, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
So what were your goods?
All right. So my good is basically the entire episode. I really liked it. And how many? What do we do with headshots? Do we do 4 or 5? I can never remember.
5.
So I gave it 4 headshots. So higher than last week. I just thought it was great writing. This week we had written by Angela Kang and Corey Ree. This is actually Corey's first. I think it's his first writing gig on. It's his first writing gig here on Walking Dead. Before he did Da Vinci's Demons and did some work on Medium. Angela Kang, we've seen her before in 7 other episodes. And the director was Jeff January, and this is actually his first. He's been assistant director on this show before, but this was his first directing gig. So all in all, I just thought the writing was great. You kept the momentum up throughout the episode. The the scene in the church when Gareth and the Fine Young Cannibals come in.
Cannibals.
That scene was intense. Not only was the tension ratcheted up with them in there basically hunting the group that was hiding out, but then when Rick and company show up and then the whole aftermath of that showdown, that was intense as well. I love there's so many great one-liners in this episode but they weren't thrown out as one-liners. Like they weren't gag lines that you typically see in a show, right? In the beginning, Gareth talking about the basically him being monologuing to Bob. I love that he said that it wasn't just a trap; it was a choice. You either join us or you feed us. Right. Later on, I really like the line with Bob and Sasha when Bob was laying there on the couch, and she said, "Why didn't you tell me that you'd been bitten?" And he said, "Because I knew if I told you that it would be all about the end, and I really liked the middle."
Yeah,
that was a great line.
Great line. Yeah, I totally agree.
I love of course, at the end, Maggie's line when Gabriel comes out and looks and he's like, "This is the house of the Lord," and she says, "Or this is the Lord's house," and she says, "No, it's just four walls and a roof." That was awesome.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute because that's the title of the episode. What do you think the significance of that is? What's your take on why that title?
Well, because they couldn't put tainted meat.
I think that's a good.
But I also think that it's.
Well, one thing I've noticed we don't talk very much about, and I've listened to some other podcasts and people recently, and they almost always analyze the title of the show, and that's something we've never really gotten in the habit of doing. And it's kind of cool. It's something I'd like to try and do each week. Well,
my take on it is one of the things that's missing throughout all this, the narrative week in and week out, is we don't have a character who's putting faith in God, right? And a just God, a moral God wouldn't allow something like this to happen, right? This is as typically preached on a Sunday morning. This isn't what a God would allow to happen. And when you we had cannibals, what other horrors have we seen in this, not to mention the zombies themselves, what all have we seen? So when you have somebody like Gabriel coming out he's clutching to, as much as everybody's clutching to their humanity in the things that they do, he's still clutching his belief that, well, there's a God and that God will protect and this. So when he comes out, he's appalled at what he sees, that this is God's house. And Maggie being, she just basically lays it down. And in that one sentence basically says there can't be a God. There is no God and is certainly not here.
Well, I agree. And I think it's also interesting that it's Maggie that says it, because her father, Herschel, was the religious center of the group prior. And clearly she's not going to take on that mantle.
Yeah.
And, the show, you're right. I don't think the show doesn't overtly get into a religious discussion, I think, and I think that's probably wise. But it does touch on it a little bit, and it has almost every season, and it's interesting to see how it's progressed. I mean, the first time I remember it becoming an issue was when Rick is in that church. I think it's in the beginning of season 2. It may be season 1, but I'm pretty sure it's the beginning of season 2. And he gets, he kneels before Christ on the cross, and he's kind of having a conversation and trying to, why is this happening? What am I supposed to do? Right. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Show me the way. And then there's then we kind of progressed into Herschel and Herschel's doctrine that there's always a plan, and this is for a reason. And then he kind of, I think even he started to question that. So it seems like just seems like we've kind of evolved now to a situation where I think at least in this group, the feeling is, there is no man in the sky that's going to save us. Right. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. And we as people have to do that as well in the decisions we make in this crazy world that we're in now. these people chose to be cannibals. We choose not to do that. And, as responsible human beings, we have to take responsibility for our own actions and not look for an outside force to do that.
Right.
That's kind of the message I got from it. So,
well, that's why last week when we talked about how when they first get to the church and each person is in a different room, there are 3 people in different rooms, and they each see a different religious motif, and the look on their face, all basically just in a look, you kind of get what each person is thinking, and it's not so much, this is just crap, but there's looks on faces almost like it's like remembering a past when you were told that there's a God and all this other stuff, blah blah blah, and then there's that. It just seemed like there was a moment of disconnect between what they were taught, what we've known, and then this reality that they're living. And there's a longing for, I think, I took it,
simpler times.
Exactly. So
easier times. There was one other religious, I thought, overtly religious moment, and that was with Tyrese.
Yes.
And I think that's right after he puts down Bob, right?
Yes.
And then he kind of puts his head up, and then you see on the wall, that's the Last Supper.
The Last Supper, right.
So I'm not sure what the significance. I mean, I'm not a very well-educated religious person, so I don't. What was the significance of the Last Supper?
Well, that's the thing I made a mental note of too that I want to look in. I want to look at and see if anybody else has mentioned it. I actually didn't see anybody tweet about that, or I saw more question about the Scarlet A on the side of the church than I saw about. So
the A, I found A as being very simple. I don't know that for me, that was the Terminus people saying you guys are the cattle in car A.
Right, exactly.
And you're still the cattle in car A, even though you're now out. You know what I mean?
I just thought it was interesting. Again, I was trying to resolve clearly they had nothing else to write in, and you're going to write in blood, but I like the Scarlet Letter, so I just wanted to see if there was a way to kind of bring those two together as well. But no, I want to look into that Last Supper.
I mean, I know that you had the 12 disciples. I didn't take account of how many people are in the group now. It'd be interesting to find out if there's 12 disciples, if there's 12 people plus 1 or 13 total or something.
So let's figure it out. We got Tyrese and Sasha, Carl, Judith, Rick, Maggie, Glenn,
Michonne.
Okay, that's 8.
Daryl,
that's 9.
Carol,
10.
Then you got. Well, did you do Abraham?
Well, no, I haven't done that. So we got 10, and then we've got those 3. No, though we also have Tara, so we've got 14. So
yeah, not quite there.
No.
So maybe there's nothing there. And then there was also the whole thing with isn't that the Last Supper has something to do with Judas too and his whole betrayal, doesn't it?
Right.
So I don't know.
Isn't the Last Supper where? Yes, I'm a lapsed Lutheran, so I don't know this. Isn't that the one where Jesus is told that someone's going to betray him? It happens at the Last Supper.
Yeah, interesting. I hope it's not Tyrese.
Oh man, it can't be Tyrese.
that would suck. So what else? What else was good?
All right, so I just want to rattle off a couple other lines I thought were great. One was Bob at the end. When he tells Rick, he says, "Nightmares end. They shouldn't end who you are," and that's just this dead man's opinion. And Bob, ever the optimist, always to the end. I also liked when Sasha's there with him, and as he says something, he told her about his dream, right? And he was like, "Yeah, I saw you smiling at me, although that might have been in the dream." And then she starts smiling at him, and she says, "So what is it, the good that comes out of this bad?" And that's when he dies. And I thought that was awesome.
And they cut it to, I mean, you get no answer. And I think that was very purposefully done because it's not clear, if there's any good that can come out of this. Out of this whole experience, this whole world that they're in now.
Tyrese taking the knife, like Tyrese he pissed me off earlier on when he was telling when he told Sasha that forgiveness that's facing, and she looks at him, she's like, "What are you talking about?"
What happened to you? She says.
Yeah, and that was just absolutely ridiculous. But then later on when he comes in, he takes the knife, and he's the one who I thought that was great. The entire time I'm like, please don't let him reanimate. Don't give him give him a dignified going out, and it wasn't graphic. It was just and I thought that was very well done. Gareth, how can
Wait a minute,
before you
leave Tyrese, I thought it applies to what you're talking about. When he has that conversation with Sasha and she says to him, "What happened to you?" And clearly he's still reverberating from what happened to him with Carol and that whole period of time last season. But then Rick brings it up again at the end when they're digging the graves.
Yep.
And he said, "I never asked you what happened while you were out with Carol." And his response was very interesting. He says, "It broke me." I thought that was pretty powerful, and that's how he feels. Rick says, "No, it didn't,"
Right.
which is great because he's saying, "No, man, you're still, it's good that you're the way you are, that you're," because Tyrese is kind of becoming the Herschel.
Yeah.
He's becoming the one voice that stands up and says, "Wait a minute, let's."
He's the moral center.
Yeah, I think so.
Somebody drew a comparison to when he was digging Karen's grave in the prison, and to him digging the grave for Bob this time. And they said that back in the prison, he was just hateful and angry and just attacking the earth. And this one here, he's kind of
methodical.
Yeah.
I personally agreed with him with regards to Sasha. I mean, this was the last moments of this guy's life. She should spend it with him. And she was just still filled with such. She was back where he was when Karen left, and she says to him, "Do you remember what it felt like? Back when you lost Karen."
She was such a strong character this episode, going after Gabriel with the knife, and
to me, she's the top. She's the winner of the episode in terms of character, and the actress just did a fantastic job. She had such a range of emotion. Saying the performances, and I thought hers, and then. I thought Gabriel's, the Seth Gilliam, his whole performance, especially during that confession of what he had done. I just thought he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
And of course, Bob's delivery of the, tainted meat, and then also just all of his moments with Sasha in the end were just, and with Rick were really powerful. And then I thought Abraham finally that character stepped up and started to emulate for me the character from the comic.
Yep.
And I really saw it there, and I just thought again the showing without having to have us be told it in endless dialogue when they get that little note on the map where he says "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
it was great, but I thought that those were amazing performances this week, all four of those guys.
The opening scene, did you notice in the opening scene with Gareth how... Oh, and also in the teaser, because we didn't quite see it last week when they show the cannibals, but we see Martin sitting there, and the comment was made that Martin didn't look like he had his head beat in too badly, but now this time you saw he had his eyes swollen up.
Yeah.
But did you notice... I love the opening of the actor, Anthony West, who plays Gareth. Man, just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
That opening monologue when he was... Did you notice how when he walks up to the glass where the walker's on the other side, and when he walks up to the... He's in the center of all of those. That was
perfect.
Such a great shot. Yeah.
Him and his fellow cannibals.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, he's essentially a zombie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was great symbolism right there. So let's talk about the confrontation in the church, which was just...
Wait a minute, because since you brought up Garrett and that beginning sequence, there was a fantastic, I thought, analogy when he makes the analogy of the bears.
God, yes.
Oh my gosh. And the other thing that was great about it is like the whole time he's talking about the bears and everything, all I could think about is, I'm trying to find my notes here, is that, the old expression, sometimes the bear eats you, sometimes you eat the bear. And to me, it was like a little bit of foreshadowing of, you had your time, now you're gonna, now the bear's gonna eat you.
But it makes,
in terms of hunters.
But it makes so much sense. Like when you sit there, it's if the bear eats the cub, you can always make more cubs.
Yeah.
And it made me look up because something just came up recently. Discover Scientific American, something about cannibalism with Neanderthals and stuff like that. So I actually went back and there was an article in National Geographic that I'd seen where early European humans 800,000 years ago, I guess, they found, basically they said that they did cannibalism. They find human bones amid animal bones, and there's other signs that they found that basically they ate other people. And they said it was, I think they said that their theory was a couple things. One was clearly food source. Second one was basically dominance over your enemies or your rivals.
Right. Right.
So it's just funny how cannibalism is kind of in our it's in our history.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you don't have to go as far back as the Neanderthals. I mean, cannibalism culturally has always been something there that we've read about or heard about, and there's been groups that have done it. And
the soccer team on top of the Andes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
What was that? Alive, like the 80s,
Alive.
Right?
Another great part of his monologue was when he talked about his mother's statement of every day above ground is a win.
Yeah,
I think I may not be paraphrasing that perfectly, but I think it was every day above ground is a win, which I thought was kind of that whole monologue was interesting, because between that statement and the bear statement, he's really basically trying to justify, even now, while he's clearly been doing this for months,
right,
and he's got this guy but he's obviously feels a little bit of guilt about it still.
Yeah,
because he's still trying to justify and explain why it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was just like I said, the greatest, the best line out of all that I liked was it's you either join us or you feed us. Right.
Well, nobody wants to see themselves as a monster. Even monsters don't want to see themselves as monsters.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's why all of this monologuing about, why it's okay for him to be doing this. And then the reflection, like you pointed out, it puts him right in with the monsters, and I thought that the show did a good job with that whole sequence.
Well,
go ahead.
No. So I was going to say, that's actually a good segue, because the theme that we've been talking about for this season so far, and for other seasons as well, is just the holding on to your humanity, having to become a monster in order to survive amid monsters. And that church scene when and again Rick again steps up to the front and is an intelligent leader once again. Takes what, 4 or 5 people with them. They go one way, and then when the bad guys come in, basically they just come around and flank them from behind. I mean, that was smart.
Right.
And 2 seasons ago, with Rick standing in front of someone like Gareth, you would have been wondering, you would have been watching the TV saying to yourself, he's going to let him go. Holy crap, he's going to let him go. This guy's going to get tangled up in his moral Gordian knot, and he's going to let him go. This time, standing in front of Gareth, you're like, he's toast. And then, of course, when the camera pulls back and you see the red handle, you knew it's a full circle. So,
plus, I love, he says, well, you could have shot us. So you're obviously, you're a good guy. You're not going to do it. And he's like, we wanted to save the ammo. Yeah.
Didn't want to waste a bullet.
And he's like, and besides, I made you a promise. And then he pulls out that thing. Oh, that was like icing on the cake.
But it wasn't just stab him a couple times and call it a day. He went to town on him like I typically do on a ham at Thanksgiving. And then you had Sasha.
Note to self: do not eat Thanksgiving over at Jeff's.
Or at least bring a hazmat suit.
That's right.
Yeah, Sasha.
No, the scene from the comic was brutal too, if you remember.
Yeah,
it was just oh my gosh. I mean, I thought that this was if on par with that, but it was both places.
The look on Maggie and Glenn's face, and Tara.
that was the shocker.
Yeah, when they just realized that. Wow. Yeah,
Tyrese slowly slips back into the room. Absolutely. Yeah, and even Sasha, when she's done, the look on her. I mean, Abraham, it's business.
Right.
Rick, it's resolution. It's I don't think he wasn't cold as Abraham, but he wasn't upset by what he had done. He's Rick is just a little like crazy right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Sasha, you could tell it had changed her. It had pushed her further than she'd ever been pushed before.
Yeah.
And or Sasha, not Tasha. But that was pretty intense. Did you catch too that Martin says right before that all goes down? He says to Gareth, "Are we done yet? Or,
Yeah.
Are we done?" You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of waiting. You know, are we done? But it was also kind of a metaphor for the fact that, yeah, you're done. You're toast. But I found one of my only real bad was very. I mean, there was minimal. The episode was so good, but it was a little bit hard to swallow that they were able to come back into the church without the termites hearing them or knowing that they're there. You know what I mean? I suppose maybe he could just Rick came in and took out those two guys, and then in all of that chaos, the others came in and flanked on the sides. You know, but
well, again,
I mean,
you have again. Yeah, and I agree, and that's one of my bads too, is a minor one, but I agree. For again, you have dumb bad guy syndrome, you know, which is you for all the smart that you had, you knew they left because you called it out. You said Rick and company left, and we're here. You didn't leave two guys on the front doorstep waiting for them to come back, you know?
Right, or at least one lookout to signal that they were coming back. Or
exactly.
Yeah.
So again, that's the problem I find with bad guys. They always have something.
Well, they got it. Yeah.
Overlooked.
The only thing I can say is that sometimes, though, the bad guys make those mistakes because they become to believe their own hype that they're infallible. You know what I mean? And they just think that they've outsmarted this people so much that they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And I think that
tunnel vision, yeah.
Yeah, I think that happens in reality. Let's see. Got some interesting answers. Termites left the tree markings.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting. So they put the markings on the trees to lead them back to that school, I guess, right? Because that must have been their first base in case they ever wanted to go back there. So then Morgan's going to find that.
Well, who do you think so who's the watcher in the woods? Do you think it was one of them? Because I think it was Morgan.
That's possible. I think if it was Morgan, he would have, once he saw that Rick was part of that group, he would have, come out and joined them, some people are speculating that Morgan is with Daryl. That how the cliffhanger ending there. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see Morgan for a while. But it could be. I mean, like I said, I don't hit very well on these predictions. But
I was all excited to.
But it was nice to get the answer about what those things were.
Well, I was all excited because last week I had said that I thought that Bob had been at Terminus, that he already knew about Terminus, and that Gareth had already known about him. And then and then on Friday, I think it was, I sent you the piece from I think the Washington Post where there was this some writer there was basically piecing all the others. Bob's from Terminus. I was all excited, and I send Kirk this email saying, "See, you told me I was nuts. Somebody else thinks I'm right." Well, now it's a moot point because Garrett's dead and Bob's dead, and we're basically moving on. So I might have been right, but
I was gentle about it. I said, "Well, based on this week's episode, I don't think so."
All right. Well, I'm putting it out there that the guy watching was Morgan, and the guy that Daryl brings out is Morgan.
See, I think Daryl has brought back Beth, and I think we're going to start off next week seeing Beth's story, which will end with Daryl and Carol rescuing her. And then I'm guessing Carol decides to leave, to not rejoin the group, which was what she was trying to do when Daryl came upon her. And that'll allow us to have Carol come back in down the road at some point, which is good. I mean, but they kind of keep doing the same thing to poor Carol.
Yeah.
She's here, she's not. She's here, she's not. Another great answer we got was Michonne's sword.
Yes.
Hot damn, the katana is back in town.
Yep.
But it was just so well done again, I mean, it's not like, oh, here's my sword, awesome. It was like, she pulls it out so slowly.
There's a reverence there to that.
Yes, well, it was also this almost sad acceptance of the fact that even though last week she was saying to Rick she didn't miss the sword, she didn't miss that life when she was on the road by herself, that she sees herself, as she said to Carl at the end of last season, I was a monster. And even in last week, she said, I don't know what that was, but it wasn't living,
Right.
And she slowly pulls that thing out. And for me, it was like this realization that she has to have that monster in her. She has to have part of that has to be with her all the time to survive in this world. And that as much as she hates it, as much as she doesn't want to admit it, she needs the sword and she needs to hang on to that part of her, at least in part. So
Yep.
That's how I read that. But she did it again. She did a lot with very little lines, I thought. Do you think there's going to be something between her and Gabriel?
Maybe. I don't see it yet.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting they had him come out and sit with her and start to talk with her, and I mean, it could be nothing, but I think I was just thought maybe. I know in the comic, Morgan and her get together, and so maybe they're that's going to happen. I don't know, but
have you been catching the past couple weeks? You've been catching an attraction vibe between Tara and Maggie.
I don't think it's from Maggie. But I think
it's from Tara. Yeah,
yeah, I think it's definitely from Tara. Yeah, I think so a little bit. But and that's to be. I would think that's to be expected. I mean, she's gay, and Maggie's like the only good looking chick there. I guess. I don't know. I tell you another one I've been thinking about is Sasha. I'm curious. It's fun for me to see how they choose to mix up the comic book storyline and the comic book characters and mix and match pieces from this and pieces from that. Because like Tyrese, obviously completely different from the comic book version of Tyrese. Comic book version of Tyrese is just completely different. He's more like Daryl. Daryl's kind of filled that role in the TV show, and so we've seen a lot of these mixing and matches. Carol is kind of taken on a lot of what Andrea with the, being the hard ass and the great shot and all that kind of stuff. And, but Sasha, is kind of filling also the Andrea role from the comic. I mean, Bob is kind of, Bob has played out this part of who was the guy that had that happen in the comic? Not, what was his name? Not Daryl. What the heck was his name? Dale. Dale's character, Dale and Andrea were together, and this happened to Dale. Mm-hmm. Now you got Sasha and Bob together, and it happened to Bob. Mm-hmm. And I just saw Sasha started to really kind of blossom in this episode as this powerful, strong. I mean, she's been always, but I really saw it come out here. And I'm wondering if she won't start to fill some of that role of Andrea from the comic, And I could even see down the road with her and Rick. I was thinking maybe Carol and Rick down the road, but maybe Sasha and Rick down the road,
Huh.
I don't know, something to think about. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I don't. I think that was pretty much my highlights. I thought those were the strongest points.
All right. So what are your bads?
Bads, as I said, maybe the fact that they're coming in and not being heard, the surprise, the fact that they got cut off. But I think I can justify that and go with it enough as it was portrayed in the show. The other one is they telegraphed the plan a little bit. I mean, I like the fact that they're like, wow, that's a ballsy plan. I don't know. We'll see if and I like when that happens and you're like, okay, cool. I want to see how this plays out,
Right.
But it was kind of when they marched off, I was kind of like, they're just going to circle back, and that's obviously what's going to happen. So it was I thought it was a little telegraphed, but overall it was fantastic. Those are the only bads I could come up with. Did you have any other bads?
Okay, so earlier you talked about the minor bad was the fact that Garrett didn't have a lookout in the back. My other bad is Maggie is the worst sister on the planet. I mean,
yeah, another episode without any mention of Beth.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I'm going to get on this bus and I'm going to go up to DC now. Now you're not even in the same area where she is.
You're so right.
And I'm just going to get on this bus and I'm going to go. So so first of all, you got Glenn, who again, he put on his big girl skirt and just again, I don't have any love for this character. So I get that he gets in between Abraham and Rick, which would have been an awesome fight because Abraham would have knocked the crap out of him. But
I don't know. I agree with you, size-wise and everything. But this is a new Rick, man. Rick just bite his ear off, man. Take a chunk right out of his neck.
He'd have gone Tyson on him. So Glenn gets in there and says, "Okay, all right, look. Here's what we'll do. We'll go stick with us tonight. Help us and we'll go with you." I was expecting Maggie in the back go, "Wait, we'll do what now?" Because he basically just yanked her along, and she was, okay, I'll go along too. So that just annoyed me.
And why did Abraham want them?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if he's choosing two of that group,
I didn't understand that part either, where it was like, I need to take Glenn and Maggie. Why?
Yeah. Well, he wanted two. He felt he needed two people. I could understand that, but they're not this.
But that's what was interesting was that Tara said, "I'll go with you," and he was like, "Okay," and Glenn and Maggie. So it's like Tara's just like, "Yeah, you're not good enough. You're the last kid."
So did Tara go with them?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but again, she had like no regard. She's just kind of, even when she says, "Is that okay?" Maggie just kind of looks at her like, "I don't care. You're getting picked last."
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's also weak that like last season. Hello.
But words together.
Yeah, last week they had that whole sequence where they're walking into the church and they're all taking their turns telling Abraham to go take a flying F that they're with Rick. And now push comes to shove and they're like breaking up. So, I think that was. It's a plot device. If you can separate the group, you can have multiple stories going on. It can be a little bit more interesting. You can have more cliffhangers. I get that, but they should have done it in a better way,
My final bad is it's Bob's death. Ever since Bob came on the scene, we had him pegged. How many episodes last year did we have him pegged to be the red shirt the following week? We're like, Bob's going to get it next week. Bob's going to get it next week. Bob's been a ticking clock since the moment he showed up, which is too bad because Gilliard is such a great actor and he just did so well this episode. But the thing is that they never really let that character. Okay, so they never let the character really reach its full potential, right? Bob was always kind of the almost comic relief. He was like the moral. Whenever Rick or somebody was kind of on the fence, caught between going left, going right, he was the little angel on the shoulder that kind of moved somebody in one direction, right? So we saw last season he was putting the moves on Sasha and trying to work his way, and she was kind of keeping him at a distance, but they were getting cozy together. And then they're in Terminus, and then he's almost dead, and then Terminus is destroyed, and then he's making out with Sasha, and then he's bit, and now he's dead, which is fine, okay? So, but
are you drawing a correlation between making out with Sasha and getting bit and dying?
I just thought it was drawn out about about his demise. They kind of put it on. It felt a little heavy to me, like they were trying to make it of the same amount of weight as say Herschel or Andrea, and it was just he had great lines and he was taken out tactfully. It was just a little much for me. Given how much they had developed the character and
what would you have rather seen?
Less?
No, but I mean, who somebody had to go. Somebody had to be the tainted meat.
Oh yeah, no, and that makes all the sense in the world. But it was just a little played too hard on the heartstrings. That's all.
I think it was rushed. If that's what you're saying, I agree with you. They definitely jumped the intensity of their love relationship dramatically from last season to this season, and it wasn't a big time jump. I mean,
because it was last week?
Did that all develop in the train car? Did that all develop in the train car where they were with everybody else?
Yeah, everybody else saw it?
Excuse us, we're going over in the corner here and hump now.
Pay no attention. Hey, give me a sock. Hang a sock up on the wall.
Pay no attention to the couple in the corner.
So, but did you not? I know I did when I saw them making out when they were walking along and they were kissing. I was like, wait, did I miss an episode? Because it just was rushed, like you. So
yeah,
anyway,
no,
that was my bad.
I agree, and I think you're right. I think they did that in order to give his loss more emotional impact,
right.
And it would have been better if it could have been dragged out a little bit longer, but I think it did. I think it did what it was supposed to do. I mean, it would have been hard. You wouldn't have been able to have Sasha's performance and Sasha's unbelievable, scenes last night without there being the justification based on her emotional attachment to this guy.
See, that proves my point. Bob served no other function than to bring out other people. He wasn't a character unto himself.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Prosecution arrest, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I think you kind of got that with a lot of the characters. I mean, I think Tyrese has that, Sasha has that possible positions. I think that all of Team Abraham, it's really just Carl, Rick, Daryl, Glenn, Maggie.
Well, we know,
maybe Beth.
We have characters. Yeah, we have characters that we know. It doesn't matter. Writers shouldn't even bother putting in their script any situation where they're leading the viewer to think that something's going to happen to Rick or Carl or Daryl, because then you lose all your female demographic. Michonne. There's 4 characters right there that are untouchable.
Right.
Judith, well, we've got stuff that happens in the comic book leaves some other people open for possibilities. But those 4, forget it. Nothing's going to happen to them. At
some point, they're going to have to. At some point. Although they're still, I mean, again, spoiler for comic book, they're still there in the comic book.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you're right. I don't know. Although there were people who died in the comic that I was shocked, So,
oh, my Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, But anyway, what was your ugly?
There can only be one ugly, and that has to be the brutal taking out of the Fine Young Cannibals in the church.
I don't, but that was a good band, by the way. At least they had one good song that I used to love in college. You and
all the other liberal arts majors.
I thought you were just going to say all us liberals, but that seemed like it. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I've heard a lot about the Red Wedding scene.
Oh yeah.
So this was kind of the Walking Dead's red wedding scene, as far as I can.
That's a great comparison. Yes.
But I thought it was fantastic. My big ugly is also good, but it has more to do kind of with the general show right now. I just think the pace of the show this season is unprecedented. It's the fact that it's getting closer knit to the comic. I love the fact that they're not dragging anything out. When we talked last week, we were both projecting that expressing concern that Gareth was going to end up being the big bad for like half the season, and that it would be the mid-season break when that would change, and boom, they wrapped that whole story up in episode 3. And then I thought for sure Bob, I knew he was going down, but I thought it would be not this episode, that it would then be next episode or the one after, and he would be sick and they'd drag it out. About no, boom, gone. And it just moves the story along at a really great clip, and I just find it so much more satisfying to watch. I just the characters, instead of going on and monologuing and projecting through dialogue and what's going on, again, it just keeps happening. So there was one moment. There was one moment to piggyback on it. There was one moment when that really exemplifies that in this episode is when Gareth and his team come in and he's calling out each of the person. I know who's in here. It's you and you and you. And there was he's kind of goading them, and Carl looks over and sees, I think it was Carl. You see that sign that was on the desk that said, "Stupidity is also a gift of God, but one mustn't misuse it." And it was awesome how you just see that, and it was well placed. So I think that next week, as much as I am not a Beth fan, I'm actually really looking forward to next week. Me too. Although someone did bring up a point that I forgot about, is that Carol and Daryl have basically been gone for like 24 hours. So how much adventure could they have gotten into in 24 hours? But it depends on. I suppose it depends on the proximity to where it all took place. Yeah, because it looked like they're like, when we see a couple shots, it looked like she was looking out over possibly Atlanta, or it looked like Atlanta to me. Yeah, but so I don't know. I don't know if they're close to Atlanta or not at this point. Well, we may have to we may have to roll with that. But yeah, it does seem like it hasn't been that long. And I don't know if it's been 24 hours because you don't know after the bus leaves how long they've been there waiting for him to return. You assume it's the same night. It's the night of the same day, but you don't know. It could have been a couple days.
All right, I'll give you that.
You don't know, But yeah, that I am also looking forward to that, and I agree. I wouldn't normally think I would be, but I think it's going to be cool to get a different location and see a different aspect of the story.
Yeah. And
also, finally, I mean, she's been out there since what, like 2-3 episodes before the finale of last season. So it's been this hanging thread that it'll be nice to get some
exactly
closure to.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so who was your character of the week?
I think I got to go. Yeah, well, I kind of gave it to Sasha, Gabriel, Bob, and Abraham. But if I have to pick one, I'd say Sasha. I just thought that
if you had to pick one instead of half the cast, yeah.
And I also gave it 4 headshots. By the way, I forgot to mention that.
All right, we're in agreement on the headshots. I'm actually my character of the week. I just enjoy him so much. I'm going with Gareth. I just love the actor. I love bad guys. I especially like sociopathic bad guys who are just so into their cause that it just blinds them to reality. And it's just, those are the guys that you need to be. Guys who are it's like people who are trying to pick a fight with you, the braggarts and the really loud guys, they're just all for show. It's the guy who doesn't talk, who just kind of keeps to himself. That's the guy you got to be worried about. And kind of along those same lines, Gareth is just so he's just guzzling his own Kool-Aid to such an extent that. I agree with you. I think he's just such the perfect example of sociopathic. I mean, he's just so detached from any emotion. But I wonder how it was written in the script, or what they gave the actor to portray it. Did they say he should be like X, or did they say, because you could have had somebody come out and play it kind of pompous and arrogant and loud. This guy plays it with a silky tongue and just very, you kind of want to like him. And when he gives you a little story like about the bear and the cub, you kind of sit back and go, I like the way your voice sounds, and that makes sense to me. So a lot of credit goes to, I think, the actor and how it was portrayed. But so
in other words, you're perfectly primed and ripe to be in a cult.
Yeah, I guess that might say that about me.
No, I agree. I think he was outstanding. I think he was far superior to the governor. Oh, yeah. And though, I like that actor, I just think that, this character was written so much better and performed so much better. And as far as bad guys go, he's been the scariest so far. So absolutely.
Well, let's see. Zombie of the week. We didn't have many kills in this one.
Yeah, I think the zombies inside that school, and that was pretty scary. Then he's talking about how the glass is going to break, and again, that was all kind of like, metaphorical. I think of representing the fact that everything's just going to fall apart, and the zombies are going to just take over everything. And I just to me that was pretty scary zombie presentation, but I don't remember too many kills.
Yeah, I think there were only 2. There was just with the 2 walking towards them, towards the group outside the church. When in the show?
Actually, that was pretty cool. When she sees them she's looking through the scope.
Yeah.
And then she comes around with the scope, and then all of a sudden the zombie is right in her face through the scope. That was pretty. And then boom, she pops. That was pretty good.
When did at the school? When did the glass start to crack?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember where. Yeah, they
crack, but I remember him saying it's going to.
So it's after. So it's after that. Maybe it was Act 2 when we came back, because there comes a point where they show them behind the glass, and then the glass splinters a little bit in the middle. It starts to spider web.
Huh. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I remember him making a comment about it, though.
Yep, in the beginning. All right, you got anything else? I actually have something to say about the spinoff. just realized.
No, I don't have anything else other than we're trying to change our music for the intro. So hopefully on this episode there was some different music. We're going to get that to our producer to put in and get that changed up. And what else you got?
Just something that came out a couple days ago about the new Walking Dead spinoff. They've got a director for it. The showrunner is Dave Erickson, who's he's producer on Sons of Anarchy. And they got Adam Davidson, who's directed Turn, that's also on AMC about spies in American Revolution, Hell on Wheels, and the short-lived Low Winter Sun. And the show is going to focus on 6 characters, including 2 families, navigating the zombie apocalypse somewhere.
Huh. So now there's only a single director?
Well, at least for the pilot.
For the pilot, okay.
Yeah, for a couple. So,
is there any ETA on that?
I did not see one yet.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen what it's going to be called either.
No, I wondered if it'll be the fall of 2015, next fall.
Maybe.
Next September, maybe.
Walking Dead Toledo or something. They're going to probably do it like CSI. It's, a different spot around the...
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I love the genre, so I welcome more of the same, but I'm a little apprehensive, I've heard rumors that they're going to go back and do more towards the beginning of the apocalypse. I just feel like that's been beat to death, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything new to be done there. But we'll see.
Yeah, be original. Don't go sci-fi about it.
Yeah.
Sci-fi channel.
Sci-fi channel.
The SIFI channel. All right. Anything else?
Well,
before we wrap this up?
No, just remind people that definitely, if you've got any comments or feedback, you can get them to us either on our Facebook page, or you can email us at biterspodcast@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter at, Biters Podcast?
Yep.
At Biters Podcast. Also, Jeff tweets at J Marzik, and I tweet at BatmanKM. And that's always a good way to get us. We're on there a lot. And we look forward to hearing from people. And definitely, if you post up, we will read your comments on the show.
Yep. And if you get any other show that you're interested in, let's say, I don't know, The Flash or American Horror Story, and you love the melodious tones that come from me, be sure to...
you should take something for that. Or see somebody about that.
Yes.
Doc, I have melodious tones.
Check out American Horror Story is Disturbed, and The Flash is Fast Talkers.
I wasn't too happy with The Flash last week.
No, we were
the
disappointed
third Flash
too.
was weak.
Yeah.
It was kind of weak.
So,
yeah. What's the word on American Horror Story? Has that been good?
It's been all right. It hasn't been as great as previous seasons. Although there is one character on there, this clown, Twisty the Clown, who is the most sadistic looking, scary. If you weren't scared of clowns before, watch an episode of American Horror Story and you'll never go to a circus again.
I've seen some pictures online, man. It's like enough to change my diapers. It's like a mess.
Dude,
I do not like clowns. Scary clowns are not nice.
The guy who plays him is just, John Carroll Lynch is just, terrifying.
Just want to go all red machete on him.
Yeah. Make sure you check out if you didn't go to the Facebook page, and I will post it on the blog too. I have to get better about blogging, but Kirk did the tribute piece for last week, and it'll be interesting to see what he does for this week. Oh yeah, that hashtag little red machete is going to be in there for sure. It won't be so little either. Well, there's the thing. There's a Twitter feed, Daryl at Daryl's Poncho. Yes. And then I was thinking we should start one that's at Little Red Machete or at Red Machete. We should do. That's awesome. That would be great. That would be awesome. So, all right. On that note, everybody, thank you for listening. Leave comments for us and rate us on iTunes. Yeah, definitely on iTunes. Give us some ratings. It always helps to get us more seen on iTunes. And we'll see you guys back here in a week. All right. What's next week's episode called? Ooh, I wrote it down and I forgot it. I don't tell you.
I forgot it. That's interesting. I wonder what that'll be about. All right, everybody, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.